granola using foods from our food storage and dehydrated foods. Okay, so this recipe was sent in to me by Marley Roca, and it's her mother's granola recipe, and her name is Nola. So I guess you can say it's Nola's granola. But anyways, this is a great recipe. I fell in love with it, and you'll soon find out why. Okay, first of all, we're going to start with oats. And first I want to point out the 25-pound bag of oats over here. Now I know I pushed the LDS cannery as much as possible, and that's because of the prices. I got this 25-pound bag of rolled regular oats for $7.60. That's 25 pounds. I don't know where you can buy 25 pounds of oats for $7.60. And all the prices there are so incredible. So if you know of a cannery near you, I would suggest that you go to it and suggest it to friends. Also, go to the resource section on our website. There's a map. Click on the map and of the state that you live in, and it'll tell you all the LDS canneries in that state. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is open up this bag. This recipe calls for 8 cups of regular rolled oats. The next thing that we need to do is we need to take our honey. Our honey, we're going to use 1.5 cups of honey. So I'm going to pour that honey into this container here. And I'm going to mix in 2/3 cup of water. Okay, next I'm going to put in 1 tablespoon of almond extract. Now I use Wilton's almonds because it's nutless, but you can also use vanilla or any kind of extract that you want, but that would be 1 tablespoon. Okay, and then I'm going to stir that in real good. This recipe is so simple. Okay, we're going to let that set. Now, this recipe calls for 1/2 cup of brown sugar, but I'm going to alter it for my family. And I'm going to add 1/4 cup of date sugar. And this is where you take your dehydrated dates and you dry them out real good and grind them up into a sugar. And the reason I'm using 1/4 cup versus 1/2 cup is because date sugar is very sweet. And I'm going to pour that in with the oats. Next, I'm going to put in 1/2 cup of wheat germ. This is my wheat germ here. I'll use 1/2 cup of that. Next, I'm going to put in 1/2 cup of flax, ground flax. Now remember, in these recipes you can pretty much do whatever you want. And all this stuff is so good for you. Now, I like sesame seeds. So I'm going to use 1/4 cup of sesame seeds in this recipe. And I'm going to put in 1 cup of sunflower seeds. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to put in 1 tablespoon of salt. Okay, and we're going to stir this up. This is a very simple recipe. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour in my extract, my honey, and my water. Sometimes by turning the pan on its side, it's easier to stir it. You want to stir this around real good. I know you might say, well, what was so special about this granola recipe? Well, because she did one thing that I never thought of. She added a box of Chex Mix to it. Now, When I first did this recipe, my son and his friends were over, and it was laying out on one of the dehydrator trays. And my son ran up to it and said, "Oh, look everybody, Chex Mix." So for some reason when you say granola, that's a bad word. But Chex Mix, boy, and they ate it all up. So it's completely gone. So I fell in love with this recipe because it's not granola, it's Chex Mix. So I have this box of Honey Nut Chex, but you can put in rice Chex, corn Chex with it. But you dump the whole box in. And then what you do is keep stirring it up. And like I said, by turning the pan on the side, it makes it a lot easier to stir it. Now you want to spend about maybe 3 or 4 minutes stirring it because you want all the rice Chex to get coated with some honey. Okay? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 1 cup of oil on top of all this. What you want to do is slowly pour this over your Chex Mix. It's 1 cup of oil. Just like that. And then again, return to stirring it up. Okay. Now, because we added the oil, obviously there's no need to spray your cookie sheets. But what you want to do next is take your cookie sheets and put a thin coat on all 3 cookie sheets. Okay, so we're going to spread it out real good just by just pushing it out. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put it in the oven. Now the recipe calls for 225 degrees for 4 hours. I found that to be just a little too high for my oven, so I think you should bring it down to maybe about 200 degrees for 2 to 4 hours if you want to keep it in the oven. I was leaving mine in for 2 hours in the oven at 220 degrees, taking it out and putting it in my dehydrator overnight to make sure it was nice and dry so I can store it for a really long time. After you make your granola, and not during the process, but after you make it, then you can take dehydrated bananas and mix them in. And this is a great way to make it a nice gift for somebody. So you can put like a handful of dehydrated bananas in with that. Okay, here I have some dehydrated apples. You can put a small handful of those in with that. And if you want, you can actually take some of your dried coconut and put some coconut in there too. So, you know, it makes, depends on if you know who you're going to give it to, if they like coconut, but throw a little coconut in there. That goes great with bananas and apples and honey. And then what you can do is you can take it, a jar, put an oxygen pack in it, and fill it up with your granola. And put the lid on it. And there you have a great granola, or should I say Chex Mix. But it makes a great gift. So you can actually give this to someone for a gift, and you can design it any way that you want. That's the neat thing about granola, is you can put all the cool stuff in it that you really like and all the good healthy stuff. You can actually put the dried chopped cranberries. This would be great inside a granola because they're all chopped up in small pieces and they're nice and they're tart, and it gives you that nice tart cranberry taste. You can add this into it. So it's absolutely endless, the things you can put inside your granola. And the reason I love this recipe is because of the Chex Mix and the fact that my son thinks it's Chex Mix and not granola. It's a wonderful recipe. I hope you try it and experiment with all your dehydrated foods. Thank you.